Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. Welcome back to Hobo's Hollow and my FSN farm, Misty Hills Agriculture, that I'm living off of here. So as we talked about last episode, when we went through, we saw we had weeds growing, and they're obviously now continuing. So we can see the kind of the broader leaf weeds, the little flowers, and obviously the field info tells us we've got weed medium. But we're going to go ahead and get ourselves the sprayer that we're ultimately going to need for weeds as things continue to grow, and we'll go forward from there. Alright, so in taking a look at the store, I did not realize we've got a second option for something with spot spraying, or what's actually See and Spray in precision farming. That's the trademark name, I believe, of the technology that was introduced with the Precision Farming DLC. So there used to just be the John Deere sprayer that came with that was your only option, but as one would expect, modders have gone ahead and done some stuff, and one of them has found their way here into FSN. So the Fernland iX-Track T4 has a working width of 40 meters at its highest end, as opposed to 28 meters for the John Deere. Spot spraying is the same cost. The wheel setup with the narrow tires is slightly more expensive. It's $800 versus $500, and then overall it has a larger capacity. Instead of 3,300 liters, it will hold 4,600 liters. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this one, since I've got plenty of cash and there's really no reason to be downsizing when we're on a pretty big map here. And I'll go ahead and head off and pick this up, because again, once I'm working that field, it's going to be important. For this field, I'm probably going to be able to do it in one pass, certainly in two, if I even need to go that far. So we're going to need to go ahead and we're going to have to pick up this sprayer, and then obviously also go ahead and go fill it. So right now, I've got no supply silos on my barn. I'm intentionally not really building out a yard, as I'm waiting for land to come up. No, this is not it yet. I'm still a little lost. There's just so much kind of going on this part of the map here. So I'll go in here. This is our entrance. There we go. And looks like someone's picked up a harvester as well. Interesting. So, whoops. I think I might have gone too far. So let me position it a bit better. I will say the dealer certainly throws these implements out pretty close to each other. There's not a whole lot of space in between, but I suppose it's efficient use of the yard, right? Alright, so we need both the PTO and hoses, but everything's connected. So I'm confused a little bit. I'm pretty sure, well, I know I had a sprayer in Shellbrook, so I don't know if I forgot to include it in everything that got moved. So when I was transferring things into inventory, somehow I neglected to do that, or it's possible because once we decided we were moving and then I was just running grass forever, I don't need to do anything with grass as far as weeds because it doesn't grow. But I may have sold it at that point, I suppose. While I'm passing through here, if you haven't figured out, I decided might as well top off the tractor. That way I don't have to make a separate trip specifically for fuel at some point in the future. So not too bad, $463 of fuel there to fill up when I was about half empty. So round numbers, about $1,000 of fuel goes into that tractor, so certainly not inexpensive. But without supply silos, I just have what I have available here, but I think that'll be okay because this see and spray technology is very, very efficient, and you get the benefit of weed control in your precision farming environmental score, which helps bonuses if we do crop sales on the map. But you don't have to use tons and tons of herbicide. You may have noticed, or if you've used it before, you'll have seen the details that it can save up to 90% of the herbicide. So this is one of the changes in precision farming that's pretty substantial. And it's going to be interesting because I know with the John Deere, like, you can see the individual nozzles spray as they go. I'll be curious, given that this is a modder as opposed to the developer themselves having created this, if all of that is still present. My concern here is, as early as it is right now, it just might be a challenge to see. I'm still a little bit too early to move the time, so it's not 3 a.m. or close to it, but yeah, I really should wait a half an hour till I move things to 5. So I don't want to get the server too close because I think people prefer it further back rather than the opposite. So here we go, liquid fert. Whoops. Oh, I don't want liquid fert, I want herbicide. Well, now what do I do? Huh. I'm half thinking I can go spray it on my grass field. That'll help a little bit. But then I'm like, maybe I just want to do the whole field. I don't know, because I could get more production off of it, that's for sure. But at this point, now that I've made the deal with Mithras and silage supply for a while, I don't really need that much, although it'll help for the hay and so forth. I don't know. I'll figure that out. I'll see what 1,000 liters gets me. Because again, with see and spray technology, for all I know, I can get the whole field done. And actually, I probably... Well, this isn't see and spray, because these aren't weeds. It's fertilizer. Never mind. But either way, yeah, the challenge will be, I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to use the crop sensor appropriately. Now, it requires daylight, so this is just kind of going to be a let's try. But kind of one of the little quirks I think I've seen is I think we still get credit just because we have a sensor on our equipment and it's present, I think is how things have really been working. Now, there's a possibility again that Giants has tweaked that and it isn't doing that anymore. But I wasn't necessarily planning on fertilizing these fields anyway, so while I'm going here, let me set my GPS, since now I'm going to be going up and down a field. I'd need it anyway. So this should be my future yard in the future, hence the future yard. But let's unfold this. It's probably going to be pretty scary, as wide as this is. Let's see. Goodness, that is a sprayer. So I'm going to go ahead and run down here at the bottom. This is going to be really interesting to figure out how I can maneuver, so you might need to bear with me. It might take me 20 minutes to back this thing up properly. So, you know, start humming to yourself, do whatever you need to do to keep yourself entertained. I'm hoping if I go slow enough and just am diligent in watching what's happening that I'll be, you know, and I don't have to be perfect, but this won't take too long. Although then again, because I had to swing so wide, we're a distance away from the edge for sure, but we can see it now. We're there. So not as bad as one might think. But we'll start and we'll see. Why is it not moving? There we go. My cruise control problems seem to be continuing. But it's interesting because it's almost acting, I would say, like spot spray, because it's kind of going in and out. So that is weird, but it is what it is. Because yeah, it's certainly not consistent, and that may be helping consume less fertilizer, which is not a bad thing, that's for sure. Now I will say, with something this wide to apply fertilizer, I may at times rethink going ahead and actually fertilizing this field, because honestly, just seeing how this is consuming, I mean, grass doesn't take much to begin with. So let me zoom back out. You know, but what is hard to tell is really how much of the field I'm getting. I mean, I know the working width on this is massive. I think most of the regular spreaders, if I had a spreader, because obviously I'm not replanting grass, so with crops, I direct seed and fertilize at the same time, and it's just done. But with grass, I would need to apply fertilizer separately, and so the dry fertilizer spreaders might do 24 or 28 meters. I don't even think they're that large. They might only be 18. But you know, that obviously takes longer than applying with something like this. So I might take a look at it, but I don't know that we are going to get anywhere near the whole thing done here. I mean, we use 200 to go across once. I mean, the challenge will be, well, there'll be a few challenges, but one of the challenges is going to be, am I really overlapped? Or do I have a gap here? I mean, I can see the area ahead in the dirt, I just can't see it here. So I think I'm just going to have to err on the side of I'm probably more moved over. The challenge is honestly going to be seeing when I hit this when I'm coming up and down, because I'm going to assume I'm going to be at about 600 when I hit the opposite end of the field there. But yeah, I mean, 1,000's not going to do it, because I could see if I just keep going this way. I'm half tempted to do that. Let me see. Let's lock in to the track here, because at this point with this width, rather than going up and down, it may be better for me to just go across here. Of course, I'm going to have the challenge on this end. Like the other end, I've got all kinds of room, but I'm not doing that often. And I think, honestly, once I come back the next time, I'm already going to be clear of that tree line. But yeah, if I go ahead and lock in my GPS here, then I can get the full 40 meters. But yeah, you can clearly see here. Now, obviously, it just might be a weird animation, because it's almost like, if you think about a string of blinking lights, like it's almost applying that way. I don't know why it doesn't think it needs fertilizer here, but it's applying very little. I don't know, I mean, on the map, obviously it's doing something, but you can see the reading on the indicator at the top is kind of showing that nothing is happening. So very strange, I will say that. I should be able to pull in. It looks like there's enough of a clearing here that I can just get to the edge of the field, and then turning around is going to be a bit of the dilemma. So there we go. We saw for a brief moment what we needed on the field. See, now that worked well, but the question is, can I turn, stay close enough to the edge, don't hit the trees, but then, you know, back up accordingly? Well, and the challenge, honestly, is going to be, like, I'm nowhere near far enough over. Ugh. I was trying to avoid it, but I don't think I can, so let me turn my lines on. But I was trying to avoid running up the edge of the field here, because I think I'm just going to end up with a really weird pattern. But let's see. So if I go here, I need to move this over. It's going to take quite a while for it to move over. I don't want to re-snap, because I think then when I rotate back, I'm not going to end up on the same line that I was, if that makes sense. So I would kind of have to reposition, and since I can't see in the field here, so I'm intentionally pushing it off the field a bit, because we've got that little bit that hangs out. Right, so I do have it on at this point, but we're in the fertilized area, so I wouldn't expect it to be spraying yet. It should start soon. There we go. So you can see it ticking down a little bit at a time. But once again, it's kind of indicating on the liquid fertilizer application graphic that I'm at the target, which is why it's really using very little. So it's just an interesting setup, that's for sure. So, since this wasn't what I was coming on here to do, I think you've obviously kind of seen what I'm gonna do. I'm trying to use a product that I bought that I didn't really need to, and it looks like I may have left a tiny bit. I don't know. I think it's giving me credit all the way to the edge. Maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't really matter that little bit if it's not. But this is going to take a bit of time. I don't want to make this an extremely long video just because I made a mistake. So I'm going to finish up using up this fertilizer. It's interesting, that little smoosh that I've got there by the wagons of looks like a bad paint job, or like paint is coming through on the wall where I had some fertilizer or something. But anyway, so I'm going to get this done, and then I'll go pick up the herbicide, and then when I get back to field 26 and I'm ready to work that and get the weeds taken care of, which was supposed to be the point of what we were doing here, I'll be back. Alright, I decided to stop off by the house here because it is time now. I can adjust time. So I guess that's the silver lining of making the mistake, is I can go ahead now and have daylight because of it. So we'll at least be able to apply the herbicide. So you can see it didn't, I don't know, there seems to be breaks between, and on one there was, but the other one it didn't show on the mini-map. So it's just confusing. I don't know how else to explain it other than it's confusing. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a wild guess here. Well, I guess I'll have to make less of a wild guess if I actually go ahead and set this up, and then I'll know where I need to be. But then I can unfold and go from there. So this is surprising to me a little bit. I don't know, maybe I was being overly optimistic of what I could do, but no, this is not even going to be close to being covered with one pass. So I'm hoping I only bought 1,000 liters because I didn't want to do a lot, because there's a couple things that went through my head. Is like, well, if I do decide to fertilize, I mean, this is the challenge now of not having silos, is I don't have anywhere to put things if I have more, because otherwise I'd be throwing pallets around, and obviously we don't want to be doing that. Alright, so let me kind of get set up here. So I apologize because I'm thinking and going, trying to talk at the same time, but trying to be careful and make sure I'm not missing anything. So let's see. Alright, so we are spraying. Now, I don't think it's going to be as obvious as the other one. Yeah, because I mean, it doesn't look like, yeah, it doesn't do the cool graphic that the John Deere does, but it's alright. I mean, but obviously we've got a lot of weeds. So you can see what's turning gray there. So definitely important to get done. Now, I guess there was just spots. There aren't a ton. Well, there's a good amount that were left still. Now, the good news is, obviously, we've only used 20 or so liters so far, and we're almost up here. So, yes, the 1,000 will be more than enough. But this is exactly what I'm used to with the See and Spray, or the spot spray as they were calling it. And I think the modders ended up calling it spot spray because that's the description. Like when you pick See and Spray, then it says weed spot spray in the box underneath. And so I think they were just using that. And also maybe just didn't want to run into the problem of some sort of copyright thing where suddenly, I don't know, Giants or John Deere or someone is like, well, you can't use See and Spray because it's not John Deere, and so now you need to do something with your mod, even though it's not like the modders are getting paid or anything for it. Oh, I did see a little bit of a spray come out there. So yeah, I guess it still is. Alright. So it's doing something similar, probably. Okay. So that is also, although this is the direction I was looking at, I was going to say that's a little bit of a quirk sometimes, depending on which way you're looking at things, but I swore we were in front, but maybe I was behind. And so in the angle, I think it's like if the sun isn't looking in the right direction, of course now I'm not seeing it again, so I don't know. And maybe it's because the sun's behind the trees. Who knows? We see it once in a while. How about that? We're just not seeing it now again. Alright, well, I can definitely pull in here, and then I've got enough of a room that I can turn around a bit. I'm going to have a bit of a challenge with that thin spot that I have left over there, but it'll all work out, I promise. But yeah, 3 and a bit is kind of the coverage that I've got. Oops, I guess I still have it on or something, because it's not letting me go very quickly here. Yeah, so we've got that little tiny piece that sticks out, which again is not surprising. There we go, we're getting things showing up as gray, which is what we want, but you can see I've got a few meters here on this side of the field, so I can't really go up. Even if the harvester wasn't there, I'd be hitting the trees. You can see where the GPS line is taking it. But if I go this route, this will work. And there we go. Those are turning gray on the edge. I'm like, I can see those, so I know they're still there. But I don't want to not get every piece, because why would I want to do that? Why would I want to leave little things around? But here you can see it's, I don't know, a 5 meter or less probably spot. I did notice in the adjustment on this implement, you can go down to as little as 2 meters, which I assume is just the little center spot, and none of the boom is spraying at all then. So that was kind of crazy, because I think the smallest you can get, well, maybe you could get down to 3 meters on the other one. I'm not sure, but it's pretty granular, so if I really don't want to overspray, but with precision farming there's less chance of that. But if I don't want to overspray, I can always shrink the application width. But now we'll get this part done. We'll get up to the tree line. I'll probably back up a bit as I fold the boom, because I think it folds forward. Although I don't think it folds that far forward, so maybe we'll just do it here. So there we go. We'll fold it back up. Yeah, it's actually efficient. It doesn't swing forward at all. I don't know what I was thinking. I've watched it fold and unfold a couple times, but still getting used to it. But yeah, that job took a whopping 6 minutes, and it probably wasn't even that long, because it's just showing 6 minutes from when I went. See, this may be accurate. I probably did drift over, and then I did set the GPS line, and that gap is there, so that little 1.5 is what I had left. I had gone around the edge of the field up there. So what I'm going to need to figure out is, at some point, do I want to actually fertilize? But the challenge, as I said, I have now is I don't have anywhere to put the herbicide right now. It would sit there as a pallet, and then if I don't use all the fertilizer, I would take that out as a pallet, load the herbicide, so it just potentially creates a problem. So I don't know that I'm going to really worry about it. Just trying to figure out a place to kind of leave this where I won't have to move it again. This is probably good. So we'll kind of leave things that way for now. Am I not close enough? I guess I'm not close enough. There we go. Alright, so that gets us set. The other thing I should have taken a look at, but I can, but I'm now just going to have to wait an hour. So I will do that, because there's no rush to get this episode out. I'm finally building up a little bit of a buffer again, as I had before, because I tend to, as you can see, have more episodes than one per day sometimes, or I do have something every day, but I'm putting these videos out every other day on the channel, with a little bit of a break over the weekend for the VIP series. So, point being, I can get you the information on dairy. So let's take a look at that. Alright, so per what we understood and what we knew in the past, we were basically adding 1,000 liters of TMR every hour to the barn. So we were using, if you missed the last episode, I'd encourage you to go back so that you can get a bit more detail than what I'm going to share here. But we're basically using about 4,500 liters of product across everything and getting 1,000 liters of TMR out of it. So what I'm assuming is 3,500 liters are getting eaten every hour, so that if at some point I'm no longer producing TMR, which will happen because, and you can't see the capacities of the barn here, but I only had so much straw, and I'm waiting for those oats to grow and for the opportunity to harvest them before I can get more straw. But I don't know that I have enough straw to keep the barn going fully for a whole year. So, you know, right now, in theory, I'd have like 7 hours of food for them to eat if the TMR robots stop now, because I've got, you know, 22,000. So you can see that. I don't want to get too deep into the math on this one. What we had also seen was we had gotten a reading on milk, but the problem was the productivity wasn't at 100% like it is now. So what I was thinking is that I was seeing fractional productivity, which I would assume is how that works. And so what I'm thinking is we're getting 1,350 liters of milk an hour out of the 240 cows. That's what I'm going to have to see. So I want to see if this goes from 98,652 up to what, 99,000. Actually would clear, or no, it'd be 99,700 and no, 900. Yeah, no, I was right. So it'd be 100,002, I think, is what we'll go to if that's accurate, because 1,300 would get us to 99,952, and then we add another 50 on there for the 1,350 that I think it's running at, so we should be 100,000 liters plus 2 more liters. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to see at 6 a.m., but I'll get back on here, and then at that point I'll go ahead and wrap up what we've got, because that's really my plans for today at this point. So I will see you in a bit. So here we are, and as expected, we're seeing 100,002 liters. So it does generate 1,350 liters per hour at this point under full productivity. And as you can see, again, the feed capacity, the TMR, has gone up 1,000 as well. So I think we've got a clear view of what's going on with the dairy. And in addition, wanted to pop over here to the dairy, and here's our first pallet of cheese. So we're doing pretty well. As you can see, we're 685 liters into the next pallet. So basically every 1,000 liters, things will pop out here. So at this point, we've got things moving along pretty well here in our little dairy operation. So we'll just keep monitoring that, but for today, this is the work I needed to get done. So I logged back in here, so I'm back here by the house. You know, maybe I'll go sit and watch some TV or something now that things are done. Wow, that speaker's leaning over. Do I have a crooked floor? Not sure. But thanks for following along. As I said, this is what we've got for today. So I will see you next time.